just getting out there and taking opportunities and, you know, finding extended family and connecting to my culture in whatever way I could. We're real spiritual people, so we always want more, or we always have to be as authentic, and we always have to be as real as possible. When you can't find that deeper knowledge or can't find that deeper connection, it becomes really hard. It's a very seductive society for our young ones, so it's much easier now to become disconnected from that pathway that exists within the land for us to follow. I think come 18 I made a decision that I was going to move up to Darwin in the Northern Territory, and that was partly just to get away from the small country town. You know, I was lucky enough to get a job working with young Indigenous people and running cultural and personal development programs for them. That was a start that, you know, I was going to honour those people that gave me those opportunities and create the same opportunities for young people who were coming after me as well. We're focusing on the very core of what our culture is, you know, going out on country, collecting wood to craft up. You know, we're having fires, smoking ceremonies. We're just doing those things that are, you know, the very DNA of our culture. Yarnbark is, you know, it's an Aboriginal-led organisation. We're trying to create, you know, positive role models and a clear pathway for our young people through our cultural mentoring, and that's around reconnecting young people back to that cultural foundation and pathway that does exist within the land. But then, you know, we've got this idea of creating an inclusive Australia, and that's through creating, you know, opportunities for all people, no matter where they come from, to connect to the very essence and heartbeat of First Nations peoples and culture and community. We find the strength together and we share the knowledge that we have, which is the special thing about our communities. You know, everyone comes from different paths, but, you know, we help each other and everyone has an opportunity to connect and, you know, celebrate this beautiful culture as well.
And I am joined by the man that you're just watching and the founder of Yarnbark, Brother Boy Will Austin. Good morning, Bruz.
Yo, how are we going?
Oh, Ledge. So, firstly, apologies, mate. That is woeful of me. I just checked my email. An hour difference is very different.
I thought I was going crazy, and I was like, no, I was definitely read 8:30 somewhere. So I've been on a mission to get out to. I thought I'll get to the workshop at 8:30 so I can start, you know, setting up, and then I'll do the interview. But that's all good. I've just left home, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, you're a ledge. You're a ledge. Hey,
I haven't seen that video for a while.
Yeah, I get the joy of watching the person I'm about to interview watch themselves in the video, and it's really interesting. You were really focused in it. What did you feel when you were watching it?
I just look real young. But yeah, no, it's a good reminder. I think, yeah, we did that video when, you know, I was really, wanting to kind of launch Yarnbark out there. So, you know, I look like pretty young. I've got a bit of a mustache and a beard now, but other than that, it's a good reminder of what Yarnbark's about. Yeah.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about Yarnbark.
Yeah, so Yarnbark's a business I've been building up for the past 5 years or so, and I think it was kind of born out of having a really negative experience in a mainstream organisation and seeing, you know, our people being treated in the way programs were delivered. And, you know, I was probably 18 or 19 at the time, and I said, this isn't right. So when I left that organisation, I kind of was like, well, I'm going to build up my own thing over time and hopefully eventually, you know, have the capacity and backing to be able to run it full time, which is, you know, it's still not at that stage, but it's kind of creeping there. You know, it's a slow process, but, you know, we're here, you know, like those things, we're here to contribute to keeping our culture alive for the young First Nations mob, to, you know, share, you know, First Nations culture in a really positive light with non-Indigenous people, and in a really interactive and immersive way, I suppose, putting politics aside and trying to get to the real essence of what our community is about, which is that love and care and authenticity and genuine kind of spirit, which all people can benefit from in this modern kind of world that we're living in. So yeah, and then obviously do a lot around traditional artifact making, trying to compete with the big corporates that are, or whatever they are you want to call them, that are mass producing artifacts in factories and selling them as authentic. So trying to really push not just my authentic work out there, but trying to create a platform to promote the work of all grassroots, craftsmen across the country to kind of, get it to the forefront. Yeah.
18, 19 years old. It's a young age in terms of wanting to branch out on your own and start your own business. It's really impressive, and it's a credit to you, and also kind of highlights a little bit about what stirs you. You won Mr. NAIDOC at a few years back. I remember just hearing you speak. It feels like you are beyond your years. Who's your role models in life up until 19? That's given you that, instilled that confidence, and that we talk about shame in culture. You seem to not have it enough for you to stop doing anything and just waiting for your time. Like, you're full force, confident, and where's it all started for you?
Yeah, well, I think it just goes back to I mentioned Dad's story in that video, and I think that's a constant source of inspiration. And like I said, Dad was, and like so many of our older generations, that were alive during those times, or a part of the stolen generation, they were denied the right to access their traditional knowledge and to kind of tap into those systems that have transfer knowledge over thousands of generations. Dad didn't know he was Aboriginal till he was 18, so
yeah, right. And
the same kind of story. So I think that is a constant source of inspiration and, I suppose, reminder to, I'm in a bit of a, although we're still facing injustices, I am in a bit of a privileged position to be able to, start up my own business and push this kind of movement of reviving culture. But, just to, I draw strength from all our, I've worked with young First Nations people, since I was 18, so young myself, and so in a really lucky position. But, just seeing our young people rise, and, we all know we've got a really inspiring, powerful generation, coming through, and we have had for quite a few years now. So that's just motivating, seeing young people lead their own thing, and unite around these movements. But then just the community mentors like, fellas like Tony Lovett, here in Ballarat, that just on the grind to be able to create opportunities for young mob to come together. And, they're, all these things that, I think back to, 15, 16, and younger, I was the most shame kind of kid there was,
Right.
I wouldn't, I was like, and still like, you get those, you still get kind of nervous and whatever. I suppose there's a difference, but like, that's the reality of it. Like, our people have been, this idea of shame has been, pushed on us, and it's a label that we've been given that, over the generations we've been, when you're forced, when a label's forced upon you for so many years, then you eventually become it, and that's what we're fighting here. So I think, in moments that I kind of, feel like that shame's coming up, you just, I suppose I've been able to, kind of come up with ways to just be like, no, that's not a thing for me. I'm not going to live that by that label, So it's just, gradually overcoming it over those labels that we've been given, over the years.
You talk about noticing that in our culture we've got so much strength, and you draw strength on that. You seem to have a real passion, and you're focusing on young fellas and younger mob, making sure that they know how real they are and how their culture has got to be central for them to be able to thrive in this crazy world we live in. How does Yarnbark tackle that problem that challenge of getting First Nations mob to see themselves in a way that's going to be encouraging them to not stay in that stale state, if you'd call it?
Yeah, I think it was a few years ago I was introduced to this concept of like cellular memory and the knowledge that we've got running through our DNA. And I think, for lots of, speaking from my experience, growing up as a, First Nations young person in a town that, only had 2 or 3, Aboriginal families, I knew I was Aboriginal, but, what does that mean? What's the deeper context to that? I think that's kind of like what I was referring to in the video. It's like an emptiness when you've got 80,000 years of culture behind you, but you don't know what it is or how to connect to it or how to express it. It's like it wants to kind of explode, but you don't know how. You don't have ways to channel that kind of that pride in your identity. And I think that was a massive thing for me growing up. But I think come like 18, 19, 20, like I realized like these kind of, back then I thought, oh yeah, playing a didge or singing in language or, knowing the dances and the stories, that was all our culture was, which is obviously, absolutely critical elements to cultural survival. But, I think the non-material aspects, the values, the behaviours, how we interact and treat ourselves, how we prioritise self-care, how we engage with community, how we engage with our mob and our elders, and those kind of behavioural aspects that are kind of led with those fundamental central values that have been at the centre of our survival for thousands of years. There's something all of our young people can connect to, because it's essentially just being your authentic self and expressing that and having the confidence to express that story of lived experience and of knowledge that you can just feel, and sometimes it's just articulating it. So I think like those the traditional song, like probably the last couple of years have I've learnt kind of started constructing some songs or have been teach some songs, and same with dancing. I still don't do lots of it, but still do it, still learning it. So these kind of practices, and same with craft. Like, yes, I craft, but I don't know everything about it. I've been taught bits and pieces, and other than that, I'll just go out and just kind of gradually teach myself and let that cellular memory kind of guide me. The ancestors guide me. So I think it's about it's kind of like removing the expectations of what it means to be a First Nations person and stripping it back to just being like, what does it actually mean in its most authentic form? And that's living life with those values, they're so important, to us.
So it's epic. Another reminder. There's so much of this similar conversation happening in my world with my wife yesterday, just about how beautiful and how innate, if you call it that, in the white man's world, but just how much we crave just being still, and how society encourages us not to be still, and it's just a crazy war of you got to strip back so many layers just to sit still these days. I know. Singing Up Country, you just talked about it there. Uncle Kutcha released a song, Singing Up Country, just recently, which I'll play when as you head off. And I appreciate your time, Braz. I know you got to go.
No, you're right.
I've got a great clip of yours I'm going to play later on too, and of you singing Up Country. Tell us what Singing Up Country is.
I think it's just that, like it's just like letting it know you're here. Like literally, I suppose it's just like channeling. It's from the understanding that the country is a living thing. It's alive, it's breathing, it's built up of cells of energy, just like we are. We're a part of it. We're a part of it. We're equal to it, and therefore you can communicate with it. And if you're communicating it in ways that it's known for thousands of years, and that's through our languages, then therefore you're singing it up. You're singing to it. You're introducing yourself to it. And then vice versa. That relationship's reciprocal. So you listen for the response. So it's opening up those those ancient kind of communication lines, and so it's just like you said, being present out there. And I say Wanga Kal Kortnan Permial Lekanyong, which means listen in silence to your spirit within. So it's about allowing yourself that time. Like you said, allowing you know, we have the ability to slow down, and we enjoy slowing down, and we enjoy sitting in silence, which is a concept that, you know, some people in the modern world just can't kind of grasp, you know.
Yeah.
But it's about allowing yourself that time, and in particular when you're out on country, because that's when that knowledge, you know, starts flowing through, you know, because, you know, the land's communicating a memory that it holds for, you know, thousands of years. So yeah, I suppose that's what it's about.
You are in a slightly comical but very serious situation. You found yourself on a train station being visited by a few men in blue a few years back. Some people may remember the whole city was shut down. Apparently, the media said probably a lot of people don't know, maybe can't recall it, but you were trundling through to a gig. Tell us what happened. Tell us what happened. It was half comical, but I know anything with the cops around can turn the wrong way if it's a First Nations person. So, what happened?
Well, I don't know. It was a bit of a mix-up. So I was on one carriage with my ditch bag, and I don't know what I was doing. I was full mission breed. I had it was like some travel bag that was just like probably like 40 kilos full of artifacts slung around my shoulder, and then apparently there was another fella on a trumpet practicing his circular breathing or something, like 3 carriages down. So he was the reason the cops got called, because someone thought that he had a rifle or something. But then we both, so the trains got brought to a standstill at Flagstaff. And I was like, I've got to get over to, Melbourne Central, I think it was, or one of them. I had to get to Flagstaff Gardens, which was the other end of the city. So when the trains got brought to a kind of standstill and they opened the doors and said evacuate, they made it real dramatic. I was the first out, and I just V-lined. I was like, I'm going to be late for my bloody workshop here, so I'm out of here. But it made me look real sus. So I V-lined out, ran up the excavators with my ditch bag and my massive bloody whatever it is, whatever I had over my shoulder. I don't even know where I got the bag from. And then there was just cops everywhere, the whatever the squads are and stuff. And I was just looked real sus, because I just didn't pay him any attention. I just walked straight past him, and I saw him looking at me. I crossed the road, and then next minute I heard when you hear the cops running their big belts and their whatever's in there, they've got around their waist, and I was like, I'm going to get hammered here. I was like, I'm not going to turn around. But luckily they didn't tackle me. They were just shouted at me to stop. And then I was like, what's going on here? And then they searched my bag and stuff, and they said, you're all good to go. But I put up a photo saying, just funny when you get stopped by the cops thinking that you're and it made me sound like I was the one that kind of caused a standstill. And I chucked that up on social media, but I didn't know what was going on at that stage. So I was like, I just put it up, and then I turned my phone off for the workshop, and 2 hours later I come back and I had missed calls from every journalist in the city, because I had put something on social media, so you know what the media's like. The trumpet fella told them no comment, so they just went with my story that I was the one that caused the standstill. And for the rest of the day I had 2 other gigs. I had journalists wanting me to, fly me to Sydney to go on Sunrise and this and that, and every journalist on the Sun I had a missed call from. I was like, God, this is hectic. And I was just trying to give Yarnbark a plug then, and whipped out the dig in all the interviews and whatnot. So it was pretty funny. 24 hours of fame.
You got a little bit more fame recently as well with the Indigenous round. It was great. You were down at Essendon, was that right? I can't remember the football club. Was Essendon or Carlton?
Yeah, Essendon, yeah.
We were down in Essendon. It was beautiful. And we played the clip during the Indigenous round, and I gave you, a big plug about the importance of connecting First Nations fellas, but also other people at the footy club. Got to sit there and get their hands connected to artefacts and stuff. How's that going? And how can people? I've really got some ideas. I want to get my fellas together, and sacredness of women not playing. Is this something that women can't do? Do the cultural courses, and how do you? What's on offer for the public, for the mainstream public?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm at post NAIDOC week. I'll look into launching some. I'm going to launch ticketed tradecraft and Yidaki making workshops. Obviously, the Yidaki making workshops will be men only, but then we'll have the artifact making workshops, which open to men, women, whoever, to come along and join in those. So that would be like digging sticks, bundies, clap sticks, whatever.
Okay.
And that'll most likely be kind of held probably out Daylesford to start with, or somewhere around here, and then with the idea that maybe it will spread. And it's just all about surfacing the end-to-end process of creating artifacts, which we often kind of forget about. And a part of that is sitting around in circle and sharing stories and connecting at a deeper level, and that forms a narrative of the item that you take home, the connections that you make at the workshops, the connection that you form with the land, the narrative that you create, that you attach to the piece that you leave with, type thing. So I'm looking into launching those, because I've never done kind of ticketed kind of stuff, but I put a post up the other week and there was lots of interest. So I'll look to hopefully do, have like a mob price, and maybe like a family ticket as well. But also open, if you've got a group that you want to get together or whatever, then also open to doing working out anything, that you want. If you had a group of mates you want to bring out and make it just your mates or whatever, we can look into anything,
Is this open to non-Indigenous people as well?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for now, I'll probably eventually maybe do some closed ones, but I think I'm also, I love creating those safe spaces for people to come together from all backgrounds. And I think, when you're sitting out on country and sitting around the campfire, then that goes a long way to creating that safe space, and it's on our terms, and doing it in ways that we would do. So, I think it's, it's a big kind of objective of Yarnbark as well, to bring people together in those spaces and around the same values, and so it should be good.
NAIDOC week is Heel Country, Braz. How's it been for you this last week, and how do you reflect and think about it? In particular, this theme would probably resonate a little bit with your work, but also where you spend your time. How's it been? How's NAIDOC week been, this particular theme?
Yeah, it's been good. I think it's a little bit of an odd NAIDOC week, because I feel like all the corporate stuff and regional stuff has kind of progressed, and then some of the bigger kind of community events that would normally ground you and really provide that really community essence kind of spirit to NAIDOC week. Some of those bigger events being kind of moved to later, so it's kind of it's been good. But obviously the theme Heel Country is really important. Personally, I think it's more relevant. Well, it's relevant to both Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people, but I think First Nations people, it's relevant because we've got the knowledge that this nation needs in order to move forward. I strongly believe that our knowledge of First Nations people needs to be at the forefront, in order for this nation to actually progress, and particularly around this concept of Heel Country. We know we have the strategies and the knowledge and the tools and all of that to be able to look after country and maintain country in a sustainable way. Yeah, but I've been thinking the last couple of days, this concept of Heel Country, it wouldn't have been around thousands of years ago, because we were just living. We were living with it. We were a part of it. We were looking after it. It was intrinsic to our way of life for 80,000 years, 90,000 years, whatever you want to put on it. So so in a obviously we were healing it, we were looking after it, but it wasn't as not in the context that it is today. When I think about Heel Country, I'm thinking about stopping the mining and the constant destruction and whatnot. So I think it's relevant, very relevant today. But if we were living, if we would just listen to First Nations people, then that looking after country, caring for country, keeping country well would just be intrinsic to the way we live our life, which is I suppose the ultimate goal.
I love it. I've heard it many times being said, but just to listen to First Nations voices, it's clearly something that this nation doesn't do well yet. I love to put a yet, because we're getting better at it, and we're starting to see, just with land management, some bigger the issues. The mining companies are just blowing up sites. We've got Dja Dja Wurrung trees getting knocked down, and the media's grabbing it, which is great. But I think just also the communities are understanding, this is getting a bit too far, to the point of no return. And First Nations people have got some. Well, we haven't tried that yet, So it's important, Braz. I really appreciate you pulling over on the side of the road. I'll chat to you any old day, man. And I've been on record to say you're a brilliant speaker. I love hearing your story and the way you talk, and I appreciate your time today, Braz.
No worries, brother. Thank you, and thanks for creating the platform
You're
for those voices to get out there.
No worries. And head to yarnbark.com.au to find out more and keep up to date. Will's also on social media under Yarnbark, and really exciting things coming up for them in terms of giving access to everyone here and all the listeners. So make sure you get involved. Thanks, Will. Braz, happy NAIDOC, man.
Much love you, Mum.
And
take care, community.
You're a good man. Catch you soon.
See you, mate.
I gave Will a 7:30, an 8:30 time slot because Dan Sultan, I copy and paste the offer. So Will was preparing to get on the road, get out there, and I feel really bad when people fit me in and I don't. It doesn't happen often, but I don't acknowledge I don't respect the time slot I've given him. He did. He was on his way. So thank you so much, Will. He just pulled over on the side of the road and helped us out. I wanted to talk about quickly while we're on Will. This is what he means by singing up.
Hey, Nutmeling!
This is what Will. You've already got a little audio clip. This is what I mean when I said singing up country. This is going to wrap up the interview with Will. Please watch your screens right now.
Hey, Nutmeling! Nutmala! Wayapa pangnotim wen koipa koi Meleng! Kelek porpa wilikan mara! Tum pa wayapa meleng! Tum pa wayapa meleng! Whee! Natum wa natuk Williston! Pikulang kilay walang kernang mala! Wanganutun alaming! Wanganutun meleng! Wanganutun koit pa koi! Hooray! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Whee! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Whee! Nut meleng! Brr! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Woo! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Nut meleng! Woo! Nut meleng! Brr! Nut meleng! Brr! Nut meleng! Nut mala! Wayapa peng notin weng! Koi pa koi meleng! Brr!
Hey fellas, my name's Jay Kennedy. I'm Tatty Waddy Waddy Noongar descent. I really like to listen to really good radio with Troy Benjamin, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9. I really enjoy his focus on Indigenous